Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be talking about the Mighty Nein animated series. So if you haven't watched it yet, I recommend going to watch it and then coming back and watching this video. This is me just going to be talking about my initial thoughts of it. I thought we were going to get the first 6 episodes out by now, but they're doing something a little different with this season. They're like longer episodes and they're only releasing 1 a week. I feel like normally they released like 3 a week when they were doing the releases for Legend of Vox Machina. Personally, I prefer this. But if you haven't caught up, I will be talking spoilers, so spoilers. Now it's your fault if you're still here. So a few things to note going into this, just to sort of get it off, off the chest right away. I'm a massive, probably one of the biggest on the internet, massive Mighty 9D rider. Honestly, like, straight up, to be totally fair with everybody, the Mighty Nein is my favorite campaign. Campaign 2 is, in my opinion, the best campaign out of the lot. The best characters, all that sort of stuff. Best story, best arcs. My favorite. It's easily my favorite campaign. So when I say that this is a fucking awesome adaptation, I feel like I could be a little biased, but I feel like I'm like the biggest judge going into it, right? I should be like the biggest critic. I should be looking at it and going like, if they do this, I'm not going to like it, or if they do this, I'm not going to like it. So I feel like my word should be pretty good that this is a fantastic series. I have loved it so far. There's only 4 episodes out, and they gave us the first 3 right away, which is why I thought we were going to be getting batches of 3, but that is not the case. We're only getting 1 at a time, which I'm okay with, because they're 40-minute long episodes each, so they're longer, which is nice. It'll be roughly the exact same amount of time that'll be given towards, all of it, so it is nice that we have this, that is, the different, like, episode lengths and stuff like that. It's another way to make it different than the Legend of Vox Machina, which is nice. But if you were worried about it not being as good as the Legend of Vox Machina, or if you were worried it was going to be a bad adaptation, fear not, it is a fantastic adaptation, and so far it has been a bunch of fun. So we're going to talk about, the overall. I don't think I need to talk about like the storyline stuff too much, because it is just an adaptation of the second campaign, but I do want to talk about like the feel of it, how it captures the vibe of campaign 2 really well, because the initial vibe of Campaign 2 is a bunch of people who are not necessarily connected. They're not connected at all, realistically, aside from like the groups that they started in and then came together. They grow together as a group through a handful of actions at the beginning of the campaign, and then at a certain event will happen later on down the road where they become even more deeply connected with each other, which that's the whole point of like the earlier part of Campaign 2, right? The first arc of Campaign 2 is called Come Together for a reason. They didn't start off as friends, and we didn't see them start off as friends anyway. Like Legend of Vox Machina or the Vox Machina like live show or live play, they were already friends when we saw them. They were already close friends and allies and, close to starting relationships with each other, right? So for the Mighty Nein, we had to see them sort of, for lack of better terms, come together. And they are showing this so perfectly, in my opinion. And they did make some changes, and I am I feel like I'm rather infamous for my stance on Season 3 of Legend of Vox Machina, which I'll get to in a bit. But overall, this has been a excellent, like, capturing of the vibe of Campaign 2, especially the opening of Campaign 2. It is brilliant how well they've been able to capture it, and I have loved every second of it so far. One of the coolest aspects of these early episodes 1, specifically episodes 1 and 2, is that it's sort of giving us the session zeros that we never saw, right? We didn't necessarily get that with the Legend of Vox Machina stuff, because that would have been a lot of stuff for them to do, like the stuff that we hadn't seen before. So instead they just gave us Brim Scythe, which was a smart move. They just elected to do Brim Scythe and then skip an entire arc, the opening arc of Campaign 1, with good reason. But they elected to skip that arc, which was an interesting move. What I like about this is that it's going back and adding more to it, which is the first change that I kind of want to talk about. How when they made changes in this season, it wasn't taking away stuff and then changing the vibe. It was to add things to the season. We got to see the show opened up with like the Kryn dynasty getting attacked by the Volstruckers, and they take the dodecahedron or the beacon, which is cool because we know that event happened in the regular game, but we didn't get to see it. We had to see the aftermath of it once the party sort of got involved with the whole thing, which I love. I love sort of being in on some of the stuff that happens. They could have easily just not shown us any of that, and just done some other stuff later with the whole situation, maybe give us some flashbacks about how it all happened, but they chose to show us, which I love. I love that they're showing us stuff that's happening without the party, which is really cool. They did it for Legend of Vox Machina as well, and it was part of like the inspiration for my last video where I talked about like how I think the cold opens could do something like that. Apparently, I'm in the minority about that idea. A lot of people like what they're doing currently, so stick with it. Stick with what they're doing. They like seeing the other tables, but that's not what we're talking about today. I have been loving everything they've added so far. And what was funny, I was talking about it with my brother because he watched the first couple of episodes of the Mighty Nein show, and he said, "So where does the actual like D&D game start?" And I said, "Well, technically episode 2 is the start, or the end of episode 2 is sort of the start, and then episode 3 is like the realistic start." So like I thought it was just really funny that he looked at me with like such shock of like, wow, they've really added a lot of stuff beforehand, which I think is brilliant. I love how they've been able to add stuff. They showed us the session zeros. That being said, they did change a few things around, and I feel like the changes they made for like the session zero stuff was pretty smart, specifically surrounding Yasha, but I'll talk about her just later on in general because her entire thing in this is really cool. But I love how, because in the initial like session zero they did for campaign 2, it was Caleb and Not doing their own thing separately, and then it was Bo, Ford, and Jester as a group, and they did their own thing, and then it was Molly and Yasha as a group. That is not the case here, which I'm a big fan of. I love the change that they made for these quote-unquote session zero like episodes they did, where it was just Ford and Jester sort of hinting at their relationship and sort of starting off their journey on the right foot together, which I think was really cool and a really smart move. I love how Ford met Marion in those episodes too, which is really cool. I'm a big fan of how everything played out with episode 2. That was a great episode. And then with Bo, Caleb, and Not, the first episode was dedicated to them, where like the first episode was just Bo on her own, sort of investigating the Volstrucker attack that sort of made its way towards the Dwendalian Empire, which I thought was a really fun move. And then Caleb and Not were trying to break into like a pet store, like a magical pet store, so he could steal some bat guano for the fucking fireball spell, which I think is awesome. The whole like session zero stuff was brilliant. We didn't really get any of Molly's session zero stuff. I'm curious what exactly that is. We did start episode 3 with a lot of Molly, which was a good move because we hadn't seen him up to that point at all. So it was just really fun seeing how they were able to like twist the stuff that we never truly saw and only heard of, and sort of change it to make it fit better for an animated show. And it didn't change anything. It just, mixed it up a bit, which is a big thing that I want to keep in mind, because a lot of stuff was moved around, but not like outright fully changed and removed. That's where an issue would be started for me if they were to remove stuff. There is an asterisk to that, and I will talk about her in a bit, but I just love the changes that they've made so far with the story. They've added characters, which is brilliant. They've killed off characters who aren't relevant to the story after the opening bits of the story. So killing them off won't change anything moving forward, unlike a certain animated series in season 3. I'm going to catch a lot more flack with that, but I really just love what they've done so far with it. And like, they've showed us the session zeros, they've given us a bit more character stuff right away. I love seeing Ford's backstory, right? Like episode 2 is like, it opens with Ford's backstory, with him on the ship, with Vandrin, Sabian, and I really hope, because we didn't really get to delve too much into Sabian during campaign 2, I really hope that they delve into him a lot for this. So before I get too far into like the changes that I liked, because I liked most of the changes they made, and I'm going to talk about more of them. But before I get too far into that, I kind of want to talk about like, to give you guys a clearer like idea of what things I didn't like about them changing in Legend of Vox Machina season 3. I do have a video about it, so if you want to go watch that, you can, which would fill in a bit more context because I'm going to try to skim through it here. The two big things that I wasn't a big fan of them changing in the Legend of Vox Machina season 3 was what they did with Percy and how they like ended the season. So Percy being killed off and removed from not 1, not 2, but 3 fights that he was actually in the show, like in the game that they played, was weird to me. I get it was to add stakes. 100% I get the idea of adding stakes. That being said, they could have just killed Scanlan, because that would have been the same thing. Had they killed Scanlan and had Percy there, it would have made more sense and would have still set up the whole Fix-Him moment because they ruined the Fix-Him moment. And then it would have set up the whole like Scanlan leaving in a huff and being angry with the party moment because they brought in Kaylee, right? They could have, I don't know why they made the changes they did. I get it was for the whole like heartbreak of the love story and all that stuff. I don't know. It just feels weird to me, like the way that they did that. They were really playing into the shippers there for a moment, I guess, which I'm not a fan of. Don't play into the shippers. The shippers, that's not a healthy thing to play into. But overall, wasn't a big fan of that change. So the change of killing off Percy and removing him from several fights that he was in, and then not killing off Scanlan, and instead of like they injured him, so that the Fix-Him moment didn't work as well because he wasn't dead, he was injured, which is whatever in D&D, right? Like, oh, I'm just injured. And then him, like them all leaving together as like they're splitting off happily was weird to me because they could have easily had him like be killed off. They brought in Terry and then Terry could be here as a placeholder so that Sam could still play him. Yes, some people are going to comment about this. There was some outside circumstances, obviously Sam's health. And then on top of that, they didn't know if they're getting a 4th season, which by the way, I think is a load of bullshit. I just want to put this out there. There's no fucking way they're going to say like they didn't know there was going to be a 4th and 5th season because they would have been told sooner, by the way. Second of all, it was one of the most popular things on Amazon. There's no way it's not getting another season, especially when another series is coming. And they already hinted at Vecna. I'm just putting that out there into the universe. They knew another season was coming. They just didn't want to have this in case of Sam's health, which is fine. And it's a good reason to make these changes. I just feel like hindsight is 2020 and maybe it wasn't the best move personally. But overall, these are changes I didn't like. And I know I'm going to get flamed in the comments for this, but I don't really care. I watched the season again since then. I still don't like these changes. That being said, the changes they've made for the Mighty Nein series is fucking beautiful. Chef's kiss. They have fixed the problem they had in season 3, and I guarantee you most of them agree. So what are the major changes I'm talking about? Because I've already said that there were major changes surrounding specifically 2 individuals. So the first major change is surrounding Yasha. And I love this change for Yasha so much. So for those of you who are curious, in the original Campaign 2 stuff that they had, Yasha started with Mollymauk. Like she has a friendship with Mollymauk. She's the bodyguard of the circus. And like that's just their thing. Like they both had like amnesia before the game started, so they didn't know who they were, and like they all came together because they're a bunch of weirdos and stuff like that in the circus. That's the whole like plot line for Yasha being there with Molly, and they became friends. In the animated show, they are playing up Yasha's Orphan Maker storyline to be much closer to the start of the campaign, which is fucking brilliant. The fact that she is going to start the campaign as opposition for the party is beautiful storytelling. She's going to I get the feeling she's not going to join the party until they get the beacon themselves, because she's hunting the beacon likely for Oban, meaning for the Chained Oblivion. I love this idea so much because we have barely seen Yasha. She had maybe 30 seconds at the end, which is brilliant because in the original, she sort of left and came back based on Ashley's like involvement with the show because she was still on Blind Spot at the time. So they've removed her from this, so there's no awkward like going and coming sort of storyline. And once she comes in, she's going to be there until she turns evil likely, and then she'll leave again for various reasons, but we'll see what's going to happen. That's the whole point. I love this idea. The idea that she's coming in as some sort of antagonist first, likely to be one of the final obstacles of the show, and maybe her and Molly make some sort of special connection because she'll lose her memory again, like to protect herself. Like the whole idea, Matt said, like the reason she lost her memories of being the Orphan Maker was to protect her mind, right? So I would love it if that happened again, and then this way Molly and her can still be friends, and then when they eventually whack Molly off, she'll still have that moment of like deep pain of not like having this friend anymore, which I will love. I will be so excited to eventually see that play out. So what they're doing right now with Yasha is brilliant, and I'm super excited to see how it plays out over the next couple of weeks, because we still have 4 more weeks before everything's done, because there's 8 episodes, 4 is already out, so we have 4 more weeks, and I'm so excited to see how the Yasha storyline plays out, because she's not there currently, which is so cool. I also love how they've sort of added this like additional Volstrucker character who wasn't there in the show initially, So that's really cool. She's like been hunting down Beauregard a tiny bit because she was able to survive early. And then when Bo and Caleb are on the same side and this Volstrucker appears, she's now like, oh, fucking two birds with one stone. I'm super excited, which is how the 4th episode ends. So I love those changes. Adding an antagonist like this to sort of build up the threat of a character like Trent Ickathon and his Volstrucker, and like to eventually build up Aidwolf and Astrid, is a badass move. I've been loving everything like they've added. Keyword here, right? They took away a lot of stuff in season 3 of Legend of Vox Machina. They've been adding stuff or mixing things around a tiny bit, not necessarily removing it yet because there's still a chance they have these things, but they've been mixed about. So then they've done a few other things. They killed off a handful of characters early on, right? So initially they weren't supposed to, like, these characters don't die. And it's really cool. It was, why can't I remember his name ever? Gus, the runner of the circus that Molly Mock was with. Basically everybody in the circus dies, which wasn't the case. A couple of them survive, specifically the ringleader or the ringmaster. He survives and has to sort of pay off his debt initially in the actual game, like in the live show, the live play they do. So he's supposed to pay off his debts, but in the show, they kill him off, which gives Molly like a bit more anger towards the situation and more like visceral, like wanting to kill off the Devil Toad, which I thought was brilliant because initially he's like, oh, he's my friend. I don't really want to kill him off. So doing this way and having like the Devil Toad be someone like newly added to the circus and then like him cost the lives of everybody, including the man that Molly like sees as like a father figure, is brilliant. I love this change as well. And on top of it, they kill off, like, not only do they kill off like most of the members of all of the members of the circus, they kill off Toya, who's like the little girl that works with the Devil Toad. I can't remember the actual name of it right now, but the Devil Toad, like they kill off the little girl, which didn't happen in like the live play. She survives. And what I like about this is it plays into Knott's storyline. Like, she gets deeply wounded by the fact that this girl didn't survive. She's like, another little girl has died or something like that. Like, another child has been killed off. Which you can, if you know the story of Knott Veth, it's hearing her react to this is so like visceral and painful and so well done. And it's a good hint to her story, like with her family. It was beautifully slipped in there, and it was excellently done. Her concern was not fighting the Devil Toad in that fight. Her and Jester were like, no, we're going to heal this kid. This is the point. We're saving this kid. And it didn't end up happening. They were too late. And the party tell themselves, we were too late, right? If we had gotten here faster, would she still be alive? And they're like, no, we were too late. And Caleb's like, I hope. Which was a insanely dope. I don't want to say dope because they've killed off a kid. Critical Role has been killing off kids a lot recently. It's weird. But too many kids are dying on Critical Role, man. But them doing that was really interesting. And it was one of the moments that like Molly Mock pointed out, like, this is a bonding experience to us. Like, we are a bunch of people who don't know each other, but this is going to be a moment that sort of brings us all together. We are sharing this tragedy in this moment, which was one, like, they're coming together. I can't, like, I'm just sitting here gushing about this show, and I'm sure it's annoying, and I'm sure some people don't really want to like listen to somebody talk about how excellent this show is. I think these 4 episodes so far of the Mighty Nein animated series is better than seasons 1 to 3 of Legend of Vox Machina. Am I a D-Rider? Yes. Am I biased? Yes. Do I care? No, because it's glorious, and it's been amazing so far. And the last major change is Matthew Mercer. Matthew Mercer has finally been given the thing I've wanted him to have since season 1 of Legend of Vox Machina. A fucking main character role. He's the fucking DM, and the fact that there's been so many characters he could have played but he passed off to other people has infuriated me to no end. I understand his love for passing off roles to other people and his desire to see somebody else bring the character to life. I totally get that. But as someone who is a viewer of Critical Role, I want to hear Matt's voice. Matt is the narrator, the world builder, the characters, NPCs, the villains, the heart and the soul of Exandria. So for him not to be in much of the shows based in Exandria is infuriating to me. Yeah, he's been a couple of villains, but again, season 3, he was background characters. So him getting Essek and being in this incredibly used role, he has more screen time than Molly Mock and Yasha. Essek has more screen time than both main characters of the Mighty Nein. I love that shit. He has been given so much development. We are seeing so much storyline with him. And we're getting more Trent Ickathon because of it. We're getting more Kryn Dynasty because of it. This is the type of shit you add to a show to make the world feel bigger and lived in. I love these changes and additions they're making to this story. For us to be able to see Essek, a character who Matthew Mercer initially envisioned as a villain to the party, we get to see his backstory. We get to see his mother suffering the effects of being reconstituted. We get to see why he doesn't like the idea of reconstitution. We get to see him develop, like, we have him with relationships with other people. Like, there's that orc guy whose name escapes my mind right now, who some people theorize is Ford's father. We have him in like a really cool position of like a character who's like, I'm not going to rat you out because I understand wanting more time, but you have to understand that at some point you have to let go a little bit, which I love that idea. Like, there's a character who's sort of talking to Essek from the other side, because right now he's got the devil on his shoulder from Trent Ickathon of like wanting to figure out and manipulate the beacon because he's the one who stole the beacon or gave them access to the beacon for the Volstrucker to steal it. And then we have this other guy, the orc character, who's like, you should take your time, and like, I understand that, but we have to find this beacon. It's important for us to find this beacon. And he's sort of being the, not necessarily the voice of reason, but sort of being a guiding light potentially. And when that character is killed off, because I'm almost guaranteeing he's going to die. I don't know though. You never know. When he does die, Essek is going to have like another like moment of crisis. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see where this Essek stuff goes. We know where it ends, but I'm loving the fact that we get to see the path that he takes. I'm curious what's going to happen to his mom. I'm curious what's going to happen to this orc. And I'm curious at what point in time does Essek, and he's already sort of doing this, but I'm curious at what point in time does Essek go, I've made a massive mistake. Yes, he's already mildly there, but at the moment he feels like he's too deep into it to be like, you know, like the sunken cost fallacy, right? Like he's in it right now and he's learning things. He's at the moment, he's still like benefiting from giving up the beacon, which is really cool. There's going to be a moment where he no longer benefits. And I'm excited to see where this comes about. Maybe we won't see this in the season. We likely won't. I have a theory about where the season's going to end, and it's going to be heartbreaking for a lot of purple tiefling lovers, but I love this shit so far. It's been fucking awesome. This season, so far, 4 episodes of this season, in my opinion, is better than 3 seasons of Legend of Vox Machina. I straight up, and call me a D-writer all you want, 4 episodes of the Mighty Nein animated series is better than 36 episodes of Legend of Vox Machina. It's crazy to me. I love how well they've been able to put this story together. I love how everyone feels important. There isn't any character who sort of falls to the wayside. Like, I feel like Pike and Grog, to a certain extent, even in the animated show, while they did have their moments of being like the big, like they are like the main character of this couple episodes, other characters still prevail. Like, there's an entire arc dedicated to Percy still. There's multiple moments dedicated to both Vax and Vex and Keyleth. The others, unfortunately, like regularly, are falling by the wayside. And they even took away Scanlan's biggest moment. Everybody in the Mighty Nein show feels important and impactful, and they're not falling by the wayside. At least not yet. They could, there's a possibility, but I fucking doubt it, because the Mighty Nein show is about the characters, not the world they inhabit, which is not the same for the Legend of Vox Machina show. It's about them protecting the world they inhabit. It's not about them totally. So I get the feeling everyone's going to feel super important to the series the entire way through. And I fucking love how much they've been able to do in 4 episodes. I love it. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say. I really just needed to gush and talk about this. I was planning on doing it at the end of the season, but I didn't realize that it was going to be, 4 more weeks. I think at worst, I thought we were going to be like 3 more weeks. But yeah, I just want to talk about it because I love this stuff. It's so good. Their character designs are awesome. I saw some people were upset about Molly Mock's character design a little bit because His coat isn't as like, you know, well designed or anything like that. It's not as like flamboyant and it's not like loud, but I feel like people need to be like, you know, told it's hard to animate that shit. So if you're upset about the designs by any means, what I find funny about the designs, right? If you look at their designs, why do both of the main character tieflings have like little gold or like little like horn covers on one side? Like, that's funny to me. Like other characters, I'm pretty sure Marion didn't have that. So I'm curious, why is it like easier to animate that way? And if that's the case, why not both of them be covered up? I don't know, but it's just funny. I like it. I love the designs. Ford, initially when I first saw him, like the greens not blending together well was weird, but for animation wise, you don't even fucking see it. So it's nice. My one complaint was Ford and how his like two greens just sort of like start and go, like one stops and one starts, and they don't blend in well. That went away because you don't even see it in the animation. It looks fine in the animation. So anyway, I have no complaints so far. It's been so good. It's been so good. So good. I love it so much. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say. And I'll see you guys on Friday for the recap of episode 8 of Campaign 4. And until then, peace. And like usual, at the end of the video, I will be thanking the members of the channel. So this month we have Eric Cunningham in the Bandit level, and we have Trentley's Tabletop in the Rogue level. Thank you for the support. And if anyone would like to support the channel or get a shout out at the end of the video, you can become a channel member today. You will also get videos early, because I tend to upload them early and then schedule them for public viewing. But members get to see them early, so there's many benefits to becoming a member today.